everybody. Welcome to the morning show. We're coming to you on WJOP LP Newburyport at FM 96.3 on Channel 9 and on Newburyport Community Media's YouTube station at ncmhub.org. I'm your host, Mary Jacobsen, and I'm happy this morning to welcome two people who have been very involved in planning our Newburyport Juneteenth celebrations coming up this weekend. We have Sarah Hayden here, Executive Director of Newburyport Community Medias. Sarah, thank you so much for your work on the celebrations and for visiting the morning show.
Oh, it's my pleasure. We're so delighted to be able to do more on Juneteenth and bring some great music and arts.
Well, you have a lot of wonderful activities planned, and you're going to teach us all about them. We're also very happy to have Marian Levy here. Marian is a co-founder of Rounder Records and has also been actively involved in planning the Juneteenth celebrations. Marian, thank you so much for visiting the morning show.
Well, again, to echo Sarah, our pleasure. It's delightful to be here and to have the opportunity to talk a little bit both about Juneteenth as a holiday in general, as well as about some of the special events that will be happening over the course of the weekend and into Monday. And the amazing thing is that, it's only been about, I think, 3 years since Juneteenth was celebrated in Newburyport, and perhaps even more recently than that, since it became a state holiday. And even though it is now a federal holiday, it is still celebrated in only something like maybe under 20 states. Wow. So it's a great opportunity, and we're happy to be here and talk to you about it and tell folks who may be listening at home.
Well, it is a great holiday and one that we all ought to be celebrating because it's really significant. And I was hoping that you might talk a little bit more about why it's such an important holiday and how we all really should be raising the roof beams to celebrate it.
Absolutely. I think it's wonderful, and it is true that it's relatively new to a lot of folks. I started to say, particularly in parts of the country that are as white as our part of the country is, but even in other parts of the country as well. It was celebrated initially more in the South, and to commemorate the bringing of the news of the Emancipation Proclamation having been signed 2 years before in Galveston Bay, and which is also part of the Houston area, and I mean that general part of sort of East Texas, West Louisiana. And it spread from there, and so it spread very unevenly. There are places, for example, like Milwaukee, Wisconsin, when I was doing some research on this a couple of years ago, that have huge Juneteenth parades with marching bands and people dressing in fabulous outfits, and backyard barbecues are a thing of the are kind of a thing.
Next year.
Yeah. And next year, perhaps a barbecue in the backyard right here. Who knows? But so with food, with culture, with clothes, music, of course, as we were saying. But what initially started it is, of course, in 1865 in Texas, and as I say, spread unevenly. I first heard about it because Houston, even back in the, I want to say 1980s, 1990s maybe, had a blues festival called Juneteenth, the Juneteenth Festival in Houston. And I thought, well, that's kind of a cute name for it, but I had no idea that it was actually based on an historical period and event, and that they'd sort of centered their blues festival around that appropriately enough, which we'll talk more about later.
You know so much, Marian.
Geez, and I was just thinking I know so little. Thank you, Sarah.
Well, it's fair to say you know a lot more than most of us.
I mean, that's so pertinent for later, what she's going to be talking about.
But throughout the country in odd places where you wouldn't necessarily expect it. Places in maybe Florida. It does tend to be more, it has tended historically to be more celebrated in the South, but it's basically wherever there are Black people who have a consciousness about that particular event in their own history, and but celebrating it not for its historical significance in particular, but for the survival of a culture, to celebrate a culture, and to have a fun day with lots of food and dancing and marching and playing music and so the spirit of Juneteenth we'd like to see here, but there's also no question that for those of us folks who, as I was saying before, live in a whiter part of the country, it's nice to have something besides the 4th of July.
Yes.
Which I think many of us have certain mixed feelings about, not just because of what Frederick Douglass had to say in his famous oration, but simply that it doesn't seem like as unalloyed a tribute to independence and freedom as perhaps we were raised to believe, certainly as I was as a child, and that perhaps Juneteenth in a way is a more genuine Independence Day. Certainly it is the second most important holiday in terms of Independence Day.
Yeah. And, so important because, a genuine celebration of independence and freedom should include, and now does include, with it becoming a federal holiday, the freedom of our nation from the scourge of slavery, which we all badly needed and which we all benefit from. Not that we're completely delivered from the historic remains of the scourge, but nonetheless, it points us in the right direction to celebrate freedom and independence. And, maybe we didn't have a parade like Milwaukee's, but maybe next year. Newburyport loves a good parade, it strikes me. We can always add more.
That's right. We recently had a Pride parade, so why not have a Juneteenth parade
Absolutely.
next year, too?
I think you will find a willing public. So
Actually, yes, we can have a parade and they can come down here for our barbecue. I think that would be fun. I mean, it does take a lot more planning ahead of time.
Yeah, sure.
And there are some companies that actually will do a good barbecue, Juneteenth style, but you have to book them, now, after this interview.
Thanks, Sarah. Great idea. And in the meantime, we do have, even though it's not a parade, one of the events will have double Dutch rope jumping and doing things at the Y because they're a part of the community involvement, and Sarah can say more about that, but it is nice to have so relatively recently this much involvement with the community.
Absolutely.
yeah, absolutely.
Not only with City Hall and all of the folks there, the diversity, equity, and inclusion folks, but and committee, but also that having spread to the Y, to the Belleville Roots concert series, the screening room, and so forth.
Yeah.
So.
Well, speaking of concerts, Marian, I was hoped that one of the first events of the weekend will be the Corey Harris concert, which will be Saturday, June 17th at 8 p.m. at Belleville. And I was hoping that you could tell us about Corey Harris, who, from what I was reading, sounds like an amazing musician. I read guitarist, vocalist, and songwriter. So tell us about Corey Harris and what people can expect from the concert that Saturday.
They can expect the unexpected, in the sense that even though Corey Harris has extensive background and is a well-respected and widely respected acoustic guitar, blues guitar player, and has been making amazing records and amazing music for literally decades. But he's also not, as he goes out of his way to point out, and correctly so, he's not just an entertainer either. He's in fact looking forward to doing this and talking to people and sort of educating a little bit in a sort of in the entertainment context, in a way that a lot of other people who are musicians wouldn't necessarily have that overview. He also, even though he doesn't sort of make doesn't shout it from the rafters, is the recipient of a MacArthur Genius Grant.
I didn't know that.
I didn't. Oh,
yes.
Well, okay.
So he has a lot wider knowledge than perhaps the average musician in terms of being able to be articulate about where his music's coming from and what inspires him and the messages that he hopes to convey and so forth. But in the meantime, he's also just a fabulous musician. So that's, as I say, expect the unexpected. And if you want to hear great music from a great black musician who is seasoned, accomplished, at the top of his game, but also hear it in a sort of his own larger context. Come to hear Corey Harris, not
Yeah.
to be missed. Yeah.
I have to add, if for anyone who has not gone to any of the concerts of the Belleville Root series, they're amazing. It's like you're sitting with the musician right there. You can watch them play. You can watch them moving their fingers. You can look at the chords that they're playing. It's just such an intimate atmosphere, and the sound is amazing. And every musician that I've seen there, every group or individual has been amazing. I think that it's worth going. If you've never gone, go to this. This would be really wonderful, and it would be a great way to show for us Newburyporters to show Corey Harris that we are on top of Juneteenth, and we are into showing the music that matters. And that's all I can say.
Well, all right, that's very intriguing. And again, that's Corey Harris, Saturday, June 17th at 8 p.m. at Belleville.
And who knows, perhaps it will lead the establishment of a new habit of wanting to go to hear some of
Yes.
the monthly concerts at
They're
Belleville.
amazing.
That's right.
Which is for a good cause. It's for the Belleville Church Improvement Fund, essentially. But a real mix and a real great balance of a lot of different kinds of music in, as Sarah just said, a really wonderfully up close and intimate personal setting with really good acoustics. So, and we all are looking for, not getting in ruts and establishing, new habits and
Right.
that are good and in ways that
Right.
perhaps we hadn't thought about
Right.
before. So,
Exploring new experiences.
yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Well, speaking of musical experiences, Sarah, I was hoping you could talk about what WJOP is doing, because there's going to be a marathon.
Yes.
Tell us about the marathon on WJOP 96.3 FM.
Yes, so first, it's on the good old radio, 96.3 FM, but we also are streaming on our website. So for people that don't have a radio, you can just go to, our website, and ncmhub.org, and it says clearly streaming, listen to the radio, click on that, it'll take you right to the radio with some information that I'm going to be getting up there about the playlists and so forth. But we are going to be playing 24 hours. Actually, it's more, because we have more playlists and more music. And of course, if you're thinking of just the repertoire of Black artists, well, it could fill the whole year. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's like, oh my goodness, we have to dribble into the next day. And Lee, who's been loading up some wonderful CDs of Black artists, said, "Are the CDs going to be heard that I put in there? Because all the playlists now are, they're big, and we have all sorts of music. I can tell you a couple of playlists that we have. Let me find my playlist. Of course, we have some good music from Corey Harris, from MC Records and Rounder Records. Alan Swyer, who put the film together, has sent some playlists of music of Corey Harris. E.J. Ouellette did a tribute to Willie Dixon. Dana Westover from WMB World Music, Carl Strube, doo-wop. I think we are going to get Black Country, so we have quite a variety of music.
Yeah.
Oh, and then we have early how bebop was born. There's so much music, and I just thought, oh my goodness. Even for next year, I'm thinking of how I can, reorganize a little better, and it's been amazing. Ken Irwin was just a huge help. He just took the idea of playlists and ran down the street and throwing playlists at me. I was like, playlists. It's just really amazing. And we have one person in Newburyport who put together a 3-hour and 45-minute playlist, Sean Gauguin, I have to say.
Oh, yes.
It's
of his
Origins of
jazz show.
Hip Hop.
Yeah.
That is going to be amazing. That is one that is actually narrated. I don't know what you call it when you're doing music. You're explaining the music that's coming up. He did tons and tons of research, and he had sent me an email. It was supposed to be a 3-hour. He said, "I can't fit it all in 3 hours. Can I go into the 4th hour?" I said, "Sure." So that one in particular will be on at 7 on Saturday night. That would have been his regular spot for his jazz show, World
Yeah.
of Jazz. And then we'll actually we're going to replay the playlists again, and they will also be available
Wonderful.
on SoundCloud.
Oh, wonderful. So again, that would be from 6 a.m., June 17th.
Yes, thank you.
to 6 a.m. June 18th, well, actually past 6 a.m.
Yes,
June 18th,
yes.
because you couldn't fit it all in.
Yes.
But what strikes me of what you're saying, Sarah, is what a community event it is, that you have
Yeah.
all kinds of people contributing to this from really all over the area. People with different degrees, different interests and different genres of music, but also people with different levels of expertise about the history of this music and how it began. So it sounds like quite the event. And again, people find that on 96.3 FM, WJOP Joppa Radio, and also on Newburyport Community Media's website at ncmhub.org. And you'll see a box that says Listen to Live Radio, and you can just click on that.
Yes.
So that sounds amazing, and also like a lot of work.
Yes, the banner at the top of the website, but it's easy to see.
Yeah,
Yeah.
very easy.
It's great, actually.
Yeah,
and
it is.
For just a quick comment, I wanted to do something to honor my girlfriend, Janet, who, I'll try not to get emotional, who passed away.
Oh,
She's
condolences.
African American. I lived in an all-white community, and Janet's family was, a black family who came to live there. Her mom was an opera singer and performed at the Met. At Lincoln Center, and I just wanted to honor her. She had said, we had a little conversation before she died, and she said, I didn't even know about Juneteenth.
Yeah. As Marian was
yeah.
talking about earlier, yeah.
It's often more of a southern
Yeah.
phenomenon, or there's more consciousness about it
Yeah.
there. And
Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds great, Sarah. And who knows, next year instead of a 24-hour plus marathon, it may be a whole weekend.
Yes.
That's right.
marathon.
It's
So
With a parade and a barbecue.
it'll just keep growing.
The music is amazing. It's not only,
Yeah.
I mean, we have new music, also new jazz music, CDs. There is so much good music.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I'm very excited. A lot of them are Rounder Records, too, old labels.
But people love to share music, and that's why people love to go to concerts. And I think, having them on the radio for the whole community to listen to at the same time, it's a different experience from listening to something, on your own in your own house. So the feeling that this is part of a growing celebration. And, as you were saying, Marian, this has been celebrated in a fragmented way in the past, but Newburyport is playing its part in bringing the country up to snuff. So there you go.
Well, we're trying to catch up, aren't we? And,
We're trying to.
And there's certainly, we don't unfortunately do it in the same way that the black communities throughout places where
Yeah.
there is a much longer black history in terms of larger communities and so forth. But at the same time, we're all, at least it is a start to make people more aware of that. And I think, just anything that makes you think about, things that make you keep your mind on freedom, as they say.
Yes, that's right.
yeah.
And how important it is for all of us, and how integral it is to what makes us a democracy.
And that as long as there's someone who's not free,
Yeah.
none of us
None
are
of us
free.
are.
Yeah.
That's right, absolutely. Well, we were talking about this is a community-wide event, and one part of the community that it's joining in the celebration is the YWCA. So, Sarah, could you tell us, this would be Monday, June 19th, and the YWCA, of course, is at 13 Market Street in Newburyport. Tell us about what's happening at the Y.
Well, they are going to have an ice cream social, which is in the afternoon, and I have to peek over Marian's shoulder. And then some double Dutch jump roping, the rope burners, which I think will be a lot of fun. That's from 2 to 3. And then they're having an open swim, which I think is really important. It's from 3 to 5. And, the way I relate to that, and I think they do too, is it's very significant for to, in my mind, connect swimming with the African American population, because I think they're just the way things were. They were prevented from going to the pools.
Yeah.
Many African Americans, even today, are not great swimmers and feel unincluded in swimming. So I actually have a friend who he's African American, and his daughter runs an African American swim program just to teach swimming. And I should have
That's
gotten
great.
her name, but that's it is happening. But I think that I don't know if that was their intention, but I think it probably was. I actually didn't speak to them at the Y, but I think it's really wonderful that they have a day thing planned on the Monday, Juneteenth, actual holiday, and that we're starting on with flag raising on Friday at 5, and then the concert and the music, and then the movie and the jump roping. I think we're really on top of things in Newburyport. I have to say, it's impressing me a little bit.
And I think it's wonderful what the Y is doing also, because
Social justice.
Juneteenth always has been about food culture as well, and an ice cream a social
Yes.
on a what may be a hot summer day, who knows?
Right.
And echoing everything that Sarah said in terms of swimming, because it's not just a matter of race; it's also a matter of class. Many poor people of whatever color didn't have access to certainly
to a swimming
pools.
pool. Yeah.
So it's wonderful that the Y is doing that.
Yeah.
The Double Dutch team is from Roxbury, by the way.
Okay.
And I am sure they're going to be amazing. If you like jump rope,
Yeah.
I do.
Well, it is an art unto itself,
It sure is.
and one that we don't know that much about up here, and that from the streets of wherever many people grew up, jumping rope and double dutch in particular is an art unto itself.
And we should add that all of those events we've been talking about at the Y are free and open to the public. And that will be Monday, June 19th, 13 Market Street. The Ice Cream Social, because everybody would want to know when to show up for the ice cream, is 1 to 2 p.m.
I'll be there.
The rope burners are 2 to 3 p.m. and the open swim is 3 to 5 p.m. that day. Well, that gets us to a documentary film, Marian, that I'm hoping you can tell us about, because I understand you're friends with the director, Alan Swyer. When Houston Had the Blues. This would be Monday, June 19th at 7 p.m. at the Screening Room at 82 State Street. So tell us about this film.
Sure. The concluding event of our Juneteenth
How
celebration here in town. And Alan is someone that I've known from the music business for many, many years, and who also is a documentary filmmaker and has done that for decades on various subjects. But in this particular documentary, he's had the opportunity to research something that is, of course, close to his heart, i.e. music. And the film is, in a certain sense, even more special than you would think just from the topic, because it hasn't even opened yet. It's been shown at some film festivals.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
It's won awards.
She has good friends.
But he actually is, because of the fact that it's being shown for Juneteenth, and because it is a benefit, which is, of course, the reason that the Screening Room was able to do this also, is they're doing it as a benefit for another very good organization in Boston called Community Change Incorporated. And then I'm afraid I'm remiss. I don't have the amount of how much it costs to get in, but I assure you it's for a good cause. So,
Absolutely.
I bought tickets and it was reasonable. I can't remember what they were, but it's very easy to get tickets for both the concert and the movie.
Yeah. So be sure to just rush right out and do that. But anyhow, that when Houston Had the Blues is not only important because Houston has been kind of overlooked compared to, say, Memphis or New Orleans, excuse me, or Chicago. But it's also emblematic of a time when there were much more vibrant, powerful, economically stronger Black communities in cities, major cities like Houston, New Orleans, Memphis, and so forth, and that in fact had Black-run record companies. Duke and Peacock is one of the most collectible and most historically important of traditional rhythm and blues companies, and that was based in Houston. The El Dorado Club, which was a model for the kind of glamorous nights out that people would go to and hear the musicians who are featured in this film, like Bobby Blue Bland, who's a major name in traditional R&B, one of the greatest voices of all time, Lightnin' Hopkins, major guitar player, Big Mama Thornton, who most people have only ever heard of, just because of her having written Hound Dog and then Elvis recording it. But Big Mama Thornton is also one of the great voices of not just that period, but of all time. And Clifton Chenier, who was a Zydeco performer from South Louisiana, was also on Duke and Peacock. And then, as I say, the El Dorado Club, all of these folks played there, so it was a major part of, big nights out for folks who lived not just in Houston, but anyone who was a follower of really great music in that period. So we have Alan to thank for that, and we have Eddie Carson to thank for the fact that he's going to be there and be in conversation via Zoom with Alan Swyer from Santa Monica. So we'll have the director there and Eddie Carson, who lived in Houston himself for a number of years.
Oh, okay.
So he's not an expert in this kind of music, which Alan is, but on the other hand, he's a big fan of everything from jazz and blues and to bluegrass.
Yeah.
So he's looking forward to seeing the movie, learning about it as we do, and then sort of moderating the discussion.
Wonderful. What a great opportunity for people in Greater Newburyport
We are so
to get to see
lucky.
this film before everybody else does.
It knocked me for a feather. I was really, because I actually didn't ask him about it.
Oh, no kidding.
And he kind of volunteered when I
Wow.
told him the work that we were doing with Sarah and
Wonderful.
so forth, to try and have some special events for Juneteenth. And in fact, he just, it was the winning film at the Houston Film Festival
Oh,
just
wonderful.
a few weeks ago.
That's exciting.
Shown to be shown on one screen, but it was so popular that they then had to have two other theaters
Oh,
involved
gosh.
as well. So of the people who have seen it in places like Paris and Amsterdam, and
Paris,
Houston,
Amsterdam, and Newburyport.
and Houston, Newburyport can now be added to the list. And thank our lucky stars that we have someone who is as not only knowledgeable, talented, gifted,
Yeah.
and but also generous to lend the film for
Wonderful.
this purpose.
And also, you are friends with Becca, right? At the screening room.
Well,
that's how we got involved with this.
Ken and I
Becca
know
Fundus.
Becca and know Ben's father from years ago.
Uh-huh.
But yes, Ben, and the wonderful thing is that Becca and Ben, who we've gotten to know a little bit better throughout the course of doing this, have just bent over backwards to make this happen.
Yeah.
And it's partly because of their wanting to do things for the community,
Yeah.
and in partnership with community organizations, which they did recently, I think with the hockey, a fundraiser for hockey and showing a really great hockey film. But no, they have been absolutely amazing at doing this, and we're just extremely, well, again, as we said, fortunate, and they're just an amazing part of the community, and the screening room has been an amazing part of the
Absolutely.
community. And with Becca and Ben Fundus now in charge of it, it looks like it's going from,
Great
having been an
films.
institution that we love to an even more community-minded
Yes, I agree.
Absolutely.
organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, once again, When Houston Had the Blues will be Monday, June 19th, 7 p.m. at the Screening Room. So that's a lot of events right here in Greater Newburyport. Are there other events on the North Shore or other resources that you want to suggest people might want to check out?
I know that the North Shore Juneteenth Foundation has a website that has area events. Also on the DEI website under events, there are some listed different celebrations around the area. So for sure people can check things out.
And let's give that website. It's in Newburyport, NBPTDEIalliance.com. I'll repeat that, NBPTDEIalliance.com for more information, both about events happening here in Newburyport as well as events a bit farther afield. Well, it sounds like just an extraordinarily wonderful and varied and moving and inspiring collection of events and activities. Thank you both so much for the work that you've both done on getting Newburyport to kind of come up to snuff for celebrating Juneteenth and evening out the celebration into communities that might not previously have participated full throttle.
Well, thank you for having us, and
Oh,
thanks
it's
for
my
helping,
pleasure.
And thanks for helping to get the word out. Yes.
My pleasure. You're both very eloquent about the significance and the history of Juneteenth itself, as well as the significance and the impact of the different events, especially the musical events and the marathon and the film that are coming up. So thank you for that, and thanks for coming on the show to talk about it. I really appreciate it.
Our
Thank you.
pleasure.
So, well, that's it for today, everybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. And please join us again next Thursday at 9 for the morning show. Till then, everybody, be well and celebrate Juneteenth in any way you can. Bye now.